Next over WOR, the Talk of New York at 4:15 in the afternoon, Bob and Ray.
Thank you. It's a program you've been waiting for all weekend since we said goodbye Friday evening. The high spot of our day, right?
Thank you, Roger. Well, it's a high spot Friday.
Yeah.
We really build towards this. When the clock reads 4:15 and the red light comes on, the curtain goes up, we know we're on the air.
Plenty exciting, I'll tell you. And the excitement just fills the whole floor here at WOR, too.
We have some hard luck stories today.
Yeah,
Make everybody feel better.
This group over here on this side of the stage, if we could have a little music, Webb. We have been searching the bus terminals and railroad stations here in Big Town for people with human interest stories who need our help. And I have 3 of these unfortunates with me right now. Let's take this gentleman here first. You are Mr. Neville Weed of Terre Haute, Indiana. And your story has something to do, Mr. Weed, with a sister whom you haven't seen for 61 years.
Well, that's right. I came to this country from the Orkney Islands when I was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen my sister since I left. And now, after all these years, she made plans to visit us. And I came all the way from Terre Haute to meet her here in New York.
I understand that you missed her when you went down to the pier this morning.
Well, yes, I guess she's changed a lot. Of course, she was only 4 years old when I saw her last, and I probably didn't just, recognize her when I saw her there on the pier. This really, puts me in a spot, kind of.
Why is that, Mr. Weed?
Well, I only had enough money for a one-way ticket from Terre Haute, and I'd planned to put the bite on my sister for the fare back. Now, I just don't know what I'll do.
Well, we've been touched by your story, I'll tell you that. We want to help you if we can by giving you this complete 24-volume set of Rupert's Encyclopedia.
Gee, that's swell. I can read it while I'm walking back to Terre Haute.
Now, this little white-haired lady over here to my right, you're Mrs. Sophie Gearspray, I believe, from Houghton, Michigan?
Yes.
Ms. Gearspray, you're working tirelessly to free your son who's in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Is that right?
That's right. Spider is a good boy. I know he's innocent, and I won't give up my fight until his name is cleared.
You were telling me before you went on the air that he was convicted on circumstantial evidence. Is that right?
Yes. 4 eyewitnesses testified against him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the police found bullet holes in the back of his car, and quite a bit of stolen property was recovered from our basement.
And now you're seeking legal aid to have his case reopened.
That's right. But you need a lot of scratch to get a good mouthpiece these days.
Well, a story of a mother's never-ending devotion to her son has brought tears to many eyes, I'm sure. And in your name, we're sending your boy this deluxe electric mixer and his choice of gay pastel colors.
Well, I don't know what he could mix up there in the slammer. They've got a making license plates, you know.
Our final guest is Mr. Wilbur Nobish of Olympia, Washington. Welcome, Mr. Nobish. Our scouts found you crying your eyes out over the bus station, I believe.
Well, yes, I'd been seeing double for 6 or 8 months, and I finally hitchhiked all the way to New York to see a specialist.
And the doctor had bad news, I guess.
No, he said I had double vision because I was blotto all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I sobered up, and the thing has gone away completely.
Well, why were you crying so bitterly at the bus station then?
Well, one of the red caps set a steamer trunk down on my foot, and the pain was excruciating.
I see. Well, we want you to have a week's supply of New York City subway tokens.
I don't know what I'll do with those. I'm going back to Olympia tomorrow.
Use them in good health. And so 3 more worthy people have been started back on the road to a happier life thanks to the generosity of the vast Bob and Ray organization. Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Today we look in on Greg and Harry continuing the search for Mary with only 4 days remaining before their scheduled opening at La Scala. And at the corner of Galano and Janice, we hear Greg say,
Well, I don't think we're making much headway finding the American consulate this way.
Gee whiz,
You know, Harry, I've just thought if...
Hey, here, sit down here on this bench,
yeah,
Greg.
It's good to,
we must have walked 5 miles this afternoon.
see, I have a booklet here of phrases. Let's see. Piedi mi fanno male.
What's that?
My feet hurt.
Oh, yeah, mine too. Yeah, good to
No, I
rest.
was thinking, Harry, supposing our friends find the consulate, how will they contact us?
Calvin and Pop, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, if they find the consulate, they were supposed to contact us back at the hotel, back at the Raphael.
And I think if we go to the consulate, how will we get a hold of them?
That's right. We have
Will we
no
do
way.
the same thing? Go back to the hotel?
I guess we'll have to do that.
I don't mean to complicate things, Harry.
No.
You know, we're in a foreign country, and you have to think differently when you're not at home.
Well, that's right. We've got to do some heavy thinking. Boy, I thought he was going to hit us then.
Non capisco.
What's that?
I don't understand.
Oh.
I have this little phrase book.
Oh.
And I'm trying to pick up my Italian.
Oh, well, give me a few phrases, see if I can figure out what you're saying.
All right. Let me stretch out here a little on this bench.
Yeah.
Desidero?
Huh?
Desidero.
What does that mean?
I want.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you try something.
I've got an awful lot of boning up to do before opening Friday at La Scala. We haven't even had a rehearsal yet. What'll happen if we don't
worry?
Huh?
Don't give it a thought. I have as much faith in you, Harry, as any producer has in any performer. I know the minute the curtain goes up Friday night at La Scala, you'll sing your heart out. I have no fears about it. And I know that we'll have Mary, and I know that Pop and Calvin, the whole gang, will just acquit themselves beautifully.
Have you signed anything with the Opera House saying that we definitely will be there and will be opening Friday? And
Do you want a swig of this wine?
yes, I don't mind if I do. It might help relax things a little bit.
It's relaxed me completely. You know, for a while there, I was quite concerned about the upcoming opening, and I don't know, suddenly now it doesn't seem that complicated to
Well,
me.
that's easy enough for you to say. You're not the one that has to go out on that stage and sing an opera on Friday.
Well, I'm the
evening.
one who has to go and talk to the productori. The productori.
Produce.
The produce.
Signor Produce.
Right. You
Yes,
see,
that's true. That's probably more important when you think
Here,
of
let
it.
me have that back again.
Yeah, here.
No, the bottle.
Oh. And so Harry and Greg sit discussing the forthcoming opening at La Scala, and Mary is still missing. Be sure and join us tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin say,
Is there anything left in that, Pop?
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. Well, Webley
Yes.
Webster, we
Yes.
kind of cheated you on Friday. We were kind of tight for time and
Sure.
wanted you to play the organ, but you didn't have the chance, and now we do have the time, and I wondered if you'd favor us, would you?
All right, here I am seated at the WOR pipe organ, and with my 20 dancing fingers, I'd like to play for you Jealousy.
Beautiful. Hold it, will you, Webb?
Yes, sir.
Someone's on the phone. Can we have a commercial while I take this
Oh,
call?
what is this?
The European Travel Commission.
I'm really sorry about that, Webb.
Well,
Time, you know, of course, is the essence in broadcasting.
oh, I know. You know, like they say, baseball and football is a game of inches.
Yeah,
Radio is a game of seconds. I know that.
that's right. I mean,
I
that's...
understand your problems, but I never get to play beyond the introduction of that song.
Well, maybe
It's quite frustrating.
maybe we can get to it after the news. It is news time right now. Lester Smith has it. And then we'll be back with Squad Car and Galaxy of the Baboons and some other features here at Bob and Radio New York over WOR Radio, the talk of New York.
And now the makers of Einbinder Flypaper, a name you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations, invite you to ride with the men of Squad Car 119.
My name's Sam Finch. Me and my partner, Ralph R. Kruger Jr., are the unsung heroes of the police force. We ride a prowl car at night. Sometimes we get lucky and find parking spaces right away. Other times we have to circle a block hunting for one. Either way, we're always on the lookout for trouble. The other evening, we just released a suspect for lack of evidence when my partner, Ralph R. Kruger, Jr., turned to me and said,
Hey, you want some raw carrots, Sam? They help you keep on your diet.
"No, thanks. I'm not on a diet, Ralph R. Jr."
You really ought to try the willpower to try it, Sam. It helps get rid of that spare tire around the middle.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But there's just one thing, Ralph R. Jr. I'm underweight. You're the one with the spare tire around the middle.
Yeah, but it won't be there long, Sam. The wife packed a whole lunchbox full of raw carrots for me tonight. Sure you don't want to eat a few instead of stopping for dinner?
No, I'd better not. Doctor says I've got to pick up some weight or I may not meet the minimum for staying on the police force.
Okay, Sam, suit yourself. But the wife packed plenty of carrots for both of us. And they sure help you get rid of that spare tire around the middle.
Yeah, well, my problem's trying to gain weight.
Calling Car 119, Car 119. Investigate at 211 in progress at the liquor store near Overland and Beverly Glen. That's at 211 near Overland and Beverly Glen.
Overland and Beverly Glen, huh?
That's us, Sam. Let's roll.
I'm not sure we ought to, Ralph. It started to rain again. I just noticed that the windshield wiper on my side has fallen off.
You're right, Sam, but it's still lying on the hood there. Shouldn't be any problem to snap it back on.
Maybe not. Like I said, it started to rain again. You get pretty wet standing out there trying to snap the wiper back on.
What do you mean, Sam? I'd get pretty wet. It's your wiper that fell off. The one on my side works fine.
Yeah, I know, but I'm the one who's driving, so it's more important to see out this side of the windshield.
You're right, Sam, but I still don't see why that makes me the one who has to get wet snapping the wiper back on.
Well, for one thing, it's dark out there, and you can see better in the dark than I can.
Well, that's because you don't eat enough raw carrots, Sam. They're the best thing for making you see good in the dark. They help you get rid of that spare tire around the middle, too.
Well, my problem is trying to gain weight, not...
Car 119, Car 119. Disregard that call to investigate a 211 in progress near Overland and Beverly Glen. The case has been handled by the man at Squad Car 82. The suspect has been apprehended, booked, and brought to trial. In 1 minute, the results of that trial.
And while we wait to hear the outcome of today's exciting case, here's an urgent reminder from the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, you have only 3 more days to take advantage of Einbinder's big cash rebate offer, so don't miss this great chance to beat inflation. Simply place your order at any participating flypaper dealer, and you'll qualify for an immediate $200 cash rebate. This offer is naturally restricted to buyers of 1 or more carloads. And when you're purchasing that much flypaper, you'll want to be sure you get the best. Genuine Einbinder, the brand you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations.
The suspect apprehended in that 211 at Overland and Beverly Glen was found to have committed a 514 instead. He is now suing the city of Los Angeles for false arrest on a 211 charge.
And so another desperate criminal is brought to justice thanks to the unsung heroes of the police force, the men who ride the squad cars at night.
If Travel Line, the civilized way to see Greece.
I'll never forget those unforgettable,
Oh, my.
never to be forgotten memories. The bowling shoes you bought me for my birthday. I wear size 9, but you bought 7. I think about you every time I take them off, and I feel so good, I feel that I'm in heaven. I'll never forget those unforgettable, never to be forgotten memories.
It's good. The trinket that you sent to me on Christmas, the nicest golden necklace I had seen. Your timing was so beautiful and thoughtful, for by St. Patrick's Day my neck turned emerald green.
Isn't that exciting?
We never missed a movie on Thursday, though it was just a late show on TV.
After 200 weeks it was inevitable that you should fall in love with Charlie Chan and me.
Don't break up now.
I'll never forget those unforgettable, never to be forgotten memories.
The cat and bird and goldfish that I sent you,
That's nice.
the sweetest kind of gift that I could get.
Too bad that you forgot to separate them. Now I've got just one pet.
Oh, now you...
I'll never forget those unforgettable, never to be forgotten memories.
Yes.
I'll never forget those unforgettable, never to be forgotten memories.
The way you used to call me up like clockwork.
'Twas once a month with regularity.
I'm sad to say my phone is disconnected.
And so are you and me. I'll never forget those unforgettable,
Never to be forgotten.
never to be forgotten, never to be forgotten memories.
Sure beautiful. Say, if you ever desired the luxury and performance of a European touring car... And now we invite you to journey with us through space and time to the distant future for another strange story from
The galaxy of the baboons.
And for our latest weird adventure, we must move through a time warp to the year 6128. A superior race of monkeys has taken over the universe, and as the barren landscape lies under a blanket of darkness, the last light in one of the creatures' dwelling places suddenly goes out.
Good night, Margaret. Please try not to snore as much as usual.
All right, Harold, good night. Harold, I hear something downstairs.
What?
I say I hear something downstairs.
I don't hear anything.
Well, that's not surprising. You never hear anything.
What?
Harold, there's something rummaging around in the living room. Did you forget to put our pet human being out for the night before you came to bed?
I didn't forget. I just couldn't find him. He must have been reading his comic books behind the couch or somewhere. But it won't hurt anything to let him stay inside. I'll go to sleep.
Well, I don't like to think of him prowling around down there all night. You know how much mischief humans can get into if you don't watch them every minute.
Margaret, I've trained him myself. He knows he's not supposed to get up on the furniture, and I've warned him that if he ever opens the refrigerator, I'll pull up one of the trees in the yard and hit him over the head with it.
Well, he knows that's just an idle threat, Harold. You haven't got the strength to pull up one of the trees in the yard.
I know, but the book on training human beings said that's what you're supposed to threaten them with.
Harold, that book was written for gorillas to read, and they can pull up trees if they want to, but you can't. You're a baboon.
What?
I said, you're not a gorilla, you're a baboon.
Margaret, you don't have to keep me awake just to tell me that. I already know I'm a baboon. Now go to sleep.
Well, it's hard. I've got a mental picture of that human being, the whole first floor down there, turning it into a mess. Just imagine what he could do to the bouquet of roses in the vase on the dining room table.
Oh, stop being ridiculous. Humans don't eat roses.
Well, I don't say he could eat them, Harold. I just meant he might get up on the table and knock the vase over.
What?
The table. The human being could get up on the table.
Why would he do that? There's nothing on the table but a vase of roses. And I don't think humans eat roses.
Well, I just know I'm not going to get a wink of sleep until he's put out for the night. Guess I'll have to do it myself.
What?
I said I'm going downstairs and put the human out.
Well, do it quietly so I can get some sleep. I have to get up early so I can buy some new batteries for my hearing aid before I go to work.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear you're finally going to take care of that.
What?
And so we journey back across the endless reaches of space and time to our own world as we know it. But soon, we'll be making another incredible voyage into the future, when we'll hear Harold say,
See, I told you he tried to eat the roses, but they made him spit up. That's
in the next astonishing episode of
The Galaxy of the Baboons.
Stocks lower in light trading. And that, friends, is the 5 o'clock edition of the news. John Scott reporting. Next news as it happens, next scheduled news this afternoon at 5:30. over WOR Radio 710, the Talk of New York. The editor for the 5 p.m. news, Ms. Michael Wiseman. And now stay tuned for Bob and Ray over WOR New York.
And, all right, John, and here's a portion of the old Bob and Ray show that we always look forward to. Our old friend Ralph Klinger here. Ralph is better known to all of us as Mr. I Know Where They Are. He spent many years building up the world's most complete reference file on former celebrities who are no longer in the public spotlight. Ralph, I think we have even more mail than usual that's come in this week from listeners who want your help in locating their favorites of bygone days.
Well, you know how pleased I always am to hear that, Ray, and
Sure.
that's especially true right now. I send out little baskets at Easter time to all the washed-up celebrities I keep in touch with. This year, I'm going to put a note right there on top of the cellophane grass in each basket, mentioning how the public still remembers the old-timers. They'll get a big lift from that.
Well, I certainly hope so. Here's one of the letters I'd like to read that's typical of the hundreds we receive addressed to Mr. I Know Where They Are.
All right.
It's from a woman up in Maine. She writes that she was taken to a circus sideshow many years ago when she was a little girl, and she still remembers seeing a man there who claimed to be 10 feet tall. The giant was named Tiny Watkins, and this woman wonders whatever became of him.
Oh, goodness sakes alive. Tiny Watkins. He's been retired for a good many years now, but of course he's still a huge man, even though he's almost 80.
Well, I guess his age wouldn't have anything to do with his size once he became an adult. Is he really 10 feet tall, though, as this woman remembers?
No, Tiny's only about 9 feet 8.5, Ray. Those circus people always exaggerate. I might add that Tiny wasn't his real name either. The other people in the circus just called him that because he was so large. They thought it added a touch of humor to call a man tiny when he was almost 10 feet tall.
Well, I'm sure Tiny accepted that nickname good-naturedly.
No, he didn't, Ray. It's fat people who are traditionally good-natured, not tall people.
Well, I guess that's true. In any event, where is Tiny Watkins now?
Tiny and his third wife are living happily on a small Polynesian island. He writes me that the people there are very innocent. They think he came from another planet because he's so tall. They worship him as an idol, and Tiny seems to like that.
Well, it's nice to know that he's happy in his declining years. All right, here's another letter addressed to Mr. I Know Where They Are from a man in Tulsa. He says that his ambitions in life were inspired by watching Jody Crimmins become the first left-handed skeet shooter ever to win the Oklahoma State Championship in 1927. And this gentleman wants to know if you can tell him whatever became of Jody.
No, I'm sorry, Ray. I don't know where Jody Crimmins is.
Really? Gee, I'm surprised to hear you say that, Ralph.
Well, it's not too surprising in this case, Ray. You see, they recounted the broken clay pigeons the next day and found they'd made a mistake. Jody Crimmins didn't win the 1927 Oklahoma State Championship after all. And I'm afraid I don't consider a person who really only finished second in a skeet shoot to be a big enough celebrity for me to keep in touch with.
I see. Well,
Excuse me. I might add I do still correspond with Wilbur Nashley. He was declared the 1927 Oklahoma State champion after the mistake was found in Jody Crimmins' score. And Wilbur Nashley is now a retired shoe clerk living in Ardmore,
well, I'm
Oklahoma.
Sure, right, I'm sure that information will more than satisfy the listener who wrote in. I think we have time for another letter addressed to Mr. I Know Where They Are. It's from a woman in Ohio, and she's wondering about Bubbles Unsinger, the one-time Radcliffe College girl who went on to become a gun moll for some of the most notorious gangsters of the 30s.
Oh, my. Bubbles Unsinger. She was a wild one, Ray. When they finally caught up with her in 1936, the reason she gave for hanging around with the Ma Barker gang was that they were all good mahjong players.
Well, she sounds like a rather irrepressible young woman. Whatever became of Bubbles Unsinger, Ralph?
Well, she just got out of prison last year, Ray. She was sentenced to 40 years, but they let her out 6 months early for good behavior. And Bubbles is now running a small metal shop in Cincinnati that makes license plates. It's the only kind of work she's trained to do.
Well, it's too bad to see a promising young person like that fail to live up to her full potential.
Right.
But at least she seems to be in good health. So I want to thank you for stopping by to help our listeners locate some of their favorite celebrities of bygone days.
I was glad to do it, Ray. I always set aside part of each afternoon for living in the past anyway. Goodbye.
Member FDIC.
And off we go again to helicopter 710, up updating the traffic is Fred Fellman.
The wild gray yonder. Okay, getting downstairs, folks. We'll give you some of the good news first. Triborough Bridge, okay. Harlem River Drive, still good, as is the upper end of the FDR Drive. Up in the Bronx, kind of a snafu start this evening. There was another tie-up going up the elevated Bruckner Expressway about halfway up. It seemed to be in the right lane, so squeeze to your left as you start up from the Triborough. On the Cross Bronx Expressway, tie-up going eastbound, starting away from the GW Bridge in the left-hand lane after you pass underneath the concourse and continue eastbound. Be prepared to merge to the right, but a wrecker was there at 512, so that one may be cleared up. And the Major Deacon northbound, a stalled truck in the right lane. As you go up past the George Washington Bridge ramp, stay to your left as you go up the Major Deacon, and also a tie-up getting to the Bronx River Parkway northbound from the Cross Bronx Expressway. It's tying up a lot of that local street where you have to make that wide sweeping left turn, U-turn to get to the northbound Bronx River Parkway. There was a truck-car accident there. All right, now due to the earlier problem on the Cross Bronx, traffic coming off the upper deck of the GW Bridge, as well as the upper end of the West Side Highway, quite slow getting to that Cross Bronx Expressway. All right, a late tie-up going up the West Side Highway. He's in the right lane at about 130th Street, squeeze over to your left. Lincoln Tunnel still very heavy out of town, but it's good inbound from Jersey. Holland Tunnel also very heavy out of town. No serious delays coming in from the Garden State. We'll have more for you shortly. Now back to Bobbis and Raymond.
Okay, Fred, good news here on the ground. No delays reported now. There are over 50 local Midas shops in the New York metropolitan area, including northern New Jersey, Long Island, Westchester, Rockland Orange, and southern Connecticut. Consult your yellow pages for the shop nearest you.
And we'll be off for a visit with Edna Bessinger in the gathering dusk in just a minute.
It's a great way to meet the Irish, the Aer Lingus Irish way. We'll take you to the Grand Lakes of Killarney. We'll show you where the Irish get their blarney. It's a great way to meet the people, find what Ireland's all about. We'll show you Dublin City where the colleens are so pretty, the Aer Lingus Irish way.
The Aer Lingus Irish way. It means Irish air hostesses instead of stewardesses. It means the finest meals served over the North Atlantic. It means more flights to and from Ireland, and the only 747 service. It means Irish accents, and Irish charm, and Irish hospitality.
It's a great way to meet the Irish, the Aer Lingus Irish way.
Call your travel agent or Aer Lingus at 212-575-8200.
And now, the American Federation of Sheep Herders, representing 14,000 lonely people just like yourself, brings you another episode of The Gathering Dusk, the heartwarming story of a girl who faces misfortune with a smile because it's still easier than facing reality. As we look in on the Bessinger household today, Edna is in the downstairs desk drawer untangling paper clips that have gotten tangled together. It's late afternoon, and Mr. Umbardo, the director of the Village Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, has just arrived.
Oh, it's you, Village Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Director Umbardo. I hope I didn't call you at a bad time while you were untying a tin can from some poor little dog's tail.
No, there isn't much of that type of thing going on anymore, Miss Bessinger. Children used to get into mischief teasing animals, but we haven't had a call in several years about youngsters tying a can to a dog's tail.
Well, I suppose that type of child is more occupied now with stealing cars and burning down school buildings and things like that.
Maybe you're right. Yes, I just don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's the way things are, and it's really come as quite a relief to me.
You're relieved that children steal cars and burn down schools now?
Yes, I don't own a car or have any children in school, but I do have a pussy cat that I'd hate to see the youngsters mistreat, so I'm awfully glad the kiddies have moved on to bigger crime. Does that sound selfish of me?
Well, yes, it certainly does.
I was afraid it might, and that's a shame because I'm really quite broad-minded about everything that's going on. But if they don't put children in jail where they belong, then I'm glad that the tykes have at least found something to destroy that doesn't belong to me. That's not such an old-fashioned idea, is it?
No, I wouldn't call it old-fashioned. In fact, I never heard anybody express an idea like that before in my life.
Well, isn't that nice? I try to be a creative thinker and stay ahead of my time. That just seems to cause people around here to treat me like some kind of a crank. I don't think I'd be considered out of step at all if I didn't live in such a backward small town. Do you?
Miss Bessinger, I wish you'd stop asking questions that are so impossible to answer. Are these the only things you call me over here to talk about?
No, I have a matter of much more urgent importance in mind. Village Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Director Umbardo. I've been terribly upset since early this morning. I just happened to be glancing through my binoculars at the Wanderman house across the street, and I noticed a bird on the roof that's been stranded over there ever since, and I'm afraid your organization will have to find a volunteer with a ladder who'll go up to save it.
Well, it isn't necessary to climb up on a roof to rescue a bird, Miss Bessinger. Unless it's injured, it can just fly away when it wants to.
Well, I suppose it might do that if it happened to be an ordinary bird, but this is a rooster, and roosters can't fly off the top of a two-story house, so, see it over there now? Clear up at the very tippy top, right next to the chimney.
Oh, yes, I see it, Miss Bessinger. That's not a live rooster. It's just part of a weather vane made out of cast iron.
Oh, by Jupiter, I do believe you're right. Village Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Director Umbardo. I wondered why it hadn't even blinked its eyes since I started watching it around 8 o'clock this morning. I thought it was just too fearful of heights to blink. But I suppose being made out of cast iron would have the same effect. My lands, you can't know what a load this takes off my mind. Why, I suddenly feel as if I'm no longer standing in the gathering dust.
Can it be that Edna's freedom from worry about a rooster trapped on the Wanderman's roof may at last enable her to find true happiness? Or will it only lead to further heartbreak when she realizes that a cast-iron bird is even more unable to fly than a real one? Join us for the next episode when Edna may shinny up the Wanderman's drain pipe and take matters into her own hands in the gathering dust.
And now, the United States Mint, one of the nation's leading producers of fine new money, presents another dramatic story from the files of the Emergency Ward.
Greetings and welcome. I'm Dr. Gerhard Snutton, handsome young physician who's not yet established a practice of his own. Instead, I work in the emergency ward of a big city hospital. The emergency ward is a place where one quickly becomes accustomed to human misery. Take the other evening, for example. I was utilizing a free moment to engage in some medical research when my associate, Nurse Roothouse, turned to me and said,
I don't think it's such a hard idea for you to lie down and take a nap while you're on duty, Doctor.
I'm not taking a nap, Nurse Roothouse. I'm engaging in medical research. I suspect that a human being's vital life signs may change while he's asleep. But of course, I can't check out that theory on myself while I'm awake.
Well, I don't see how you can check it out on yourself when you're asleep either. You can't take your own pulse and blood pressure while you're lying there snoring away.
Exactly, Nurse Roothouse. Well, that's another of our vital life signs that changes while we're asleep. We're too far out of it to take our own pulse and blood pressure. I must make a note of that.
Excuse me, is this the emergency ward of a big city hospital?
Yes, and I am Dr. Gerhard Snutton, handsome young physician who's not yet established a practice of his own. I might also mention that we don't permit loud sneezing in here. It disturbs the patients who are trying to sleep.
Well, I'm sorry, Doc, but that's my emergency. Excuse me. I can't stop sneezing. And besides that, my nose is running and I'm all feverish and headachy and, excuse me.
That's odd. Hasn't been a case of the bubonic plague in this city since the late 1700s. That means the present generation has never experienced the type of strict quarantine I'm going to have to order, just because of you.
Doctor, for pity's sake, I can't imagine why you think this man has the bubonic plague. That's a very rare disease.
Nurse Roothouse, I just implied it was rare when I said nobody has had it since the late 1700s. If you'd listen when I'm talking, you wouldn't have to waste time making silly comments afterwards.
Well, excuse me, but if you people are going to have a big fight over this, do you mind if I sit down and read a magazine? I'm a little too feverish to be standing up. Excuse me.
All right, go sit down if you must, but don't breathe on the magazines. A lot of them cost 75 cents a copy now. I'd hate to have to burn them just because you got bubonic plague germs all over them.
Okay, Doc. Excuse me. I'll try not to do that while I'm reading.
See that you don't. Now, Nurse Roothouse, I must try to put a citywide quarantine into effect without alarming the citizens. Just tell the police to appear calm as they go from door to door, threatening to shoot people who leave their homes.
Well, Doctor, I'm afraid that's going to start a panic no matter how calm the police try to appear. And you aren't even certain that this is a case of bubonic plague.
Nurse Roothouse, it's quite obvious that you never spent a day of your life in medical school. That patient has the 3 classic symptoms of the plague: headache, feverish feeling, and sneezes.
Hey, Doc, guess what I just discovered? Excuse me.
Apparently, you discovered that you can't stop sneezing on the magazines as you promised. That one in your hand is ruined.
I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to show you this article. It's about the common head cold. And I've got all the symptoms it tells about. See, headache, feverish feeling, sneezes.
Well, now that you remind me, I believe we did study the head cold briefly when I was in medical school. I probably would have checked you out for that once you'd lived long enough to convince me you didn't have the plague.
Oh, I'm sure you would have found out eventually, Doctor. What do I owe you anyway? Excuse me.
Well, I still think it might be a good idea to burn that magazine you sneezed on. So adding the replacement cost to my fee, I guess, it would come to around $3.
Okay, here you are. And look, thanks a lot, Doc. Goodbye.
Well, Nurse Roothouse, you've just seen a man walk out of here who is suffering from a disease that we once considered fatal, and the credit for his recovery goes to modern medical science. But in your casebook, it can simply read, patient released, cured.
And join us again soon when the United States Mint, one of the nation's leading producers of money, will bring you another dramatic story from the files of the emergency ward.
Roger Skibbon is substituting this evening for Lyle Van. Our next news as it happens, next scheduled news at 6:30 with Lester Smith. Right here over WOR, the talk of New York. It's 6:15. With pleasure, here they are again, Bob and Ray.
And now, the makers of Tingle, the long-wearing dental floss created from spun glass fiber, invite you to join us for another exciting adventure of Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
My name is Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy. It's my job to handle the toughest espionage assignments our government can hand out. Recently, we got word that a foreign power might be installing some new missile sites that would endanger our security. To check out the report, I had to be given a phony passport and a whole new identity. With that taken care of, I made my way to the hostile country, posing as a Swedish tourist. The first native I encountered was the clerk at a small hotel where I planned to stay.
Oh, good day, sir. If you're looking for a mirror so you can straighten your blonde wig, there's one across the lobby.
Thank you. But I'll take care of that in my room. I'm a Swedish tourist, and I believe you have a reservation in my name. It's John Smith.
No, I'm sorry, sir. We're not expecting anyone from Sweden named Smith.
Well, there was probably some foul-up in Washington over my arrangements. You see, I haven't been entirely honest with you. I'm really Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
Oh, yes, Mr. Litzinger. We've been expecting you. Your room is on the top floor. Has a nice large window from which you could fall or be pushed into the air shaft.
Well, I don't really need anything that fancy. I hope it isn't terribly expensive.
Well, the room rate does figure out to around $40 a day in American money, but I don't think you'll be with us for more than a couple of hours, so I'll give you a special price.
Well, that's very kind of you, Mr.
Mirkov, Lieutenant Colonel Mirkov.
Really? That's very interesting. Back home, our high-ranking military people don't have to moonlight as hotel clerks to make ends meet.
Well, actually, hotel work is an Army assignment here. The top brass likes to keep track of who comes and goes.
And I suppose that's especially true now that you have new missile sites close by?
Well, I wouldn't want to comment on that. But it's interesting that you should think we have any launching locations in this area at all.
Well, we don't suspect you of having finished many of them yet. My guess is 2 or 3, but I could be wrong about that figure.
Yes, you certainly could be. Now, if you'd care to freshen up, I'll have one of our sadistic brutes from the secret police take your bags up to your room for you.
Well, I'm really not supposed to let anyone else touch them. They contain quite a few secret documents.
Oh, you don't need to worry about that. We've already photographed everything you brought along out at the airport. So we won't be needing your original copies anymore.
Oh, well, fine. That's a load off my mind. Incidentally, I wonder if the colleague I was supposed to meet here has checked in yet. He's a Swiss merchant named William Jones.
Well, he was here, but he's left. In fact, we're giving you the room he occupied for a few minutes.
Seems strange that he'd check out before I got here. Did he leave a forwarding address?
No, but I believe he mentioned something about going to the bottom of the air shaft.
I see. Well, if he's taken off on a side trip, that must mean he's accomplished what we were sent here to do. So I'll just file my report with the Home Office saying, mission completed and accomplished by Elma W. Litzinger, spy.
Friends, I know you're as anxious as we are to keep this fine program coming into your home. So why not show your appreciation to our generous sponsor by rushing out now to buy a large supply of Tingle, the miracle dental floss made of spun glass fiber. Get some quickly, and be sure to join us soon for more fabulous adventure in the career of Elmer W. Litzinger, spy.
Right now, the question of the day.
That's right. We're going to ask some of the people here in our audience what, in their opinion, is the blandest day of the week.
I'd say Monday.
Thursday.
Friday,
Thursday,
probably.
Friday, Monday.
Saturday, kind of bland.
Need to have a little organization. Let's begin with you, ma'am. I think you yelled out first there. What, in your opinion, is the blandest day of the week?
I'm going to surprise you with my answer, Mr. Elliott.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Saturday is the blandest day of the week for me. I hope you'll notice that I said Saturday was the blandest day for me.
Well, by that, you mean that other people might not find Saturday a bland day at all.
That's right. That's why I added the qualification.
Oh, I understand. I think it's very
Now, most people would have picked a Thursday.
Well, I don't know.
Well, that's the day I had in mind, Thursday.
Okay,
See that? See?
We'll get to you in a moment, sir. I'm still talking
Now,
to the
not
lady.
all Saturdays are bland, mind you. I once went to New Hampshire on a Saturday, and I was quite surprised at what I saw.
Okay, ma'am. Now this gentleman who selected Thursday. I guess you must have a reason
Right
for that.
here. The name is Edmund Sapp, S-A-P-P.
Well, what made you select Thursday as the blandest day of the week, Mr. Sapp?
Well, let's take it by days.
All right.
On Monday, you're shaking off the effects of the weekend, if you get what I mean.
I get it, yes.
All right, then, that brings us to Tuesday.
That's
Now,
my own personal selection for the blandest day of the week, Tuesday. Mr.
Well,
Sapp.
to each his own. As far as I'm concerned, Tuesday is a day you begin to take stock of things, how you feel, what you're doing, where you're headed, things like that.
A meditative day.
Yeah, right, right. And all that stuff. The thinking, keeps you hopping and using the old bean. Incidentally,
Right.
Bob, do you know what I liken Thursday to?
To what, Mr.
The month
Sapp?
of March. Now, you won't find a blandum month around, not even if you looked. That month is like a book with gray pages, and no printing on the pages.
Well, that's a very deft description of the month of March, but you were up to Wednesday. What are your feelings about Wednesday?
I would say it's a lively day, because by Wednesday you've thrown off the effects of the weekend, if you get what I mean.
I get what you mean, yeah.
And then you've stopped thinking by Wednesday, too, so it's a good day to get things done. Now, Wednesday is anything but bland in my book.
Well, that's about all the time we have, and the opinions...
Well, how
have
come that man said March is a bland month? If it comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb, that wouldn't be very bland.
I want to thank you all for your opinions.
Well, that's my opinion of it.
We were delighted with what you had
April,
to say.
of course, is right into spring,
Right.
You couldn't call that bland.
I think we've gotten the week off to
October is kind of bland.
a really great start here in
sir.
Studio
Now,
2.
with the leaves turning, you couldn't say
All right,
that.
it's over now. We finished our discussion,
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
Have to get along to other things.
It is mid.
Thanks, Dan. That should do it for sports, and I guess it does it for Bob and Ray for this Monday.
Full Louis News commentary coming up next, and right after that, the WOR Radio Mystery Theater. Tonight it stars Paul Hecht in The Saxon Curse.
And we'll see you tomorrow at 4:15. Until then, Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumbs.
And this is WOR New York, an RKO General Station.